Now let's begin to build the back leg of our dinosaur. So let's go ahead and start in much the same way we did for the body. So we'll go ahead and you can use any of these. If you want to use a freehand, that'll allow you to just kind of draw it out. So I'm going to start from the top here and just kind of draw down to the knee, back here, and back down and end right at the bottom there. Okay, and then we can go ahead and select these points. And you can see that the kind of spline that we have here has these handles that we can manipulate. So I need to go in here and then I can sort of turn that handle. Okay, don't know that we need this point here, so I can go ahead and get rid of that. Kind of use a minimum number of points here. And let's go ahead and drag this up a little bit. Okay, so we can start to get that kind of into position here. Go ahead and rotate this a bit. Let's again use our inside. And I'm going to set this to 8. Okay, so 8, sometimes 6, you can get away with if it's something you're going to be smoothing and you want it to be a nice circular shape. Okay, I usually stick with 8 or 6, so we'll use 8 in this case. Let's get a new sweep NURBS and let's drop again our splines underneath here. Okay, and let's go ahead and take our inside down a little bit. Okay, you can see I need to change again my orientation. So I'll change it to XY and I'll take that radius down a little bit. Okay, and you can start to see this sort of overlap. So let me go to spline. We just go to uniform and let me go ahead and take this down. Okay, so you can see as the joints, as they kind of move over each other, they sort of overlap a little bit. So we can fix that up as we go, but I want to go back into our sweep NURBS, and then I just want to come in and modify this. So let me take the radius up to be sort of as big as the top of the leg there, then go into here and start to dial this down. So we want this part down at the bottom to be thinner. Okay, and so we can go ahead and dial that in a little bit. We can add maybe another point in there to kind of thin things up a little. Okay, let's go ahead and leave it a little rough so that we can look at how we can manually modify this. Okay, so if we look in our 3D view, you can see that's located here. Now obviously we want to kind of move this out, so we could take this whole thing and kind of move it off to the side here if we want to. I'm actually going to bring it in a little bit so it's a little bit closer to the body there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and say current state. That'll give us this, and then we'll go ahead and drop this into our raw NURBS null. And so now we're left with this. Okay, I didn't take the time to turn the caps off, but if you don't, you can go ahead and just delete those out, because we don't need either one of those caps. So now what we can do is start to modify this manually. So I want to maintain the circular shape. So I'm going to go into rectangular selection. I want to turn off this only select visible elements. So I want to be able to select all the way through. And so here I can go ahead and select an entire row of points here, loop, and go ahead and kind of move it into position. I can also rotate it. And I want to try to constrain it to a particular axis. Okay, and I can come in here and grab this row and kind of move it in. And let's kind of scale it up a little bit. And we can come in here, kind of scale this up a little bit. Okay, and then we can start to just manually move these points around. So because it's a polygon, we have the ability to come in and really, on a low level, kind of get this looking the way that we want to. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move this down a little bit. I want to really get enough geometry here in the joint so that we can have enough movement here. Okay, now coming in here, you can see these are sort of rotated in a direction that's maybe not exactly the way that I want. So I'll go ahead and rotate it a little bit, bring it back. Let's come in here, do the same thing. Bring this up a little, and I'll just rotate it, maybe not quite so much. And we're sort of keeping the cylinder shape, although, the leg is cylindrical basically, but we don't want to have to maintain that shape all the way through. So you can come in and start to modify this. So if I want to just grab these points on the front and start to move these in, I can do that. Now keep in mind you're going to be changing the shape of your leg here, which is really the point. You just want to be aware of how that happens. So I'll go ahead and kind of clean this up by moving this back, just so we don't get that overlap. Kind of move these back a little bit, trying to maintain kind of the clean edge flow. Now if we are going to be smoothing this, keep in mind that we will lose a little bit of volume here as we smooth this, so keep that in mind. Okay, coming in here, I'll go ahead and bring this back of the leg down and back. And we want these edges, as they start coming towards the body, we want them to start turning towards the body. Okay, right now they're sort of facing straight up almost. And so we want to come in and actually sort of turn those. You can see here we're needing maybe one more edge in here. So what we can do is go to the knife. And we saw before how we used the line mode to add a single edge. We can add an entire edge loop just by changing this mode to loop. And then we can come around, just click, and you can add a new edge. Okay, then from that point on, you can come in and let's just select those edges, and we can get a sort of better looking knee in here. Add a little bit more shape in this joint area. Okay, so again, looking at this, we've now shaped this a little bit. I want to actually start to turn this geometry towards the leg a little bit more. And seeing this, actually I think I have a little bit too much geometry. So if that's the case, I can come in and select, using my loop selection, select those top polygons, go ahead and delete those. Remember, we want to go in and optimize. Go ahead and select that. Make sure that we optimize that. Unused points. And then we can go ahead and take, for instance, this loop on top, okay, and we can start to rotate it towards the body a little bit more. So still trying to maintain that edge flow, but just kind of rotating that around a little bit more. And if you're using the move, you can go ahead and double click on a line there and to actually select that. Okay, same thing in rotate. Just kind of select it, and then we can, if we want to kind of scale this down in any direction, we can do that, kind of thin out the leg a little bit, and just sort of rotate it towards the body. Okay, it can be intersecting a little bit. We just want to start that transition towards the body. All right. Now we can also come in and take this whole guy here, and right now it's kind of facing straight out. I'm going to kind of turn it just a little bit, so the leg is kind of pointing out a little bit more. Okay, and as we rotate it, it may get off here, so you just want to come in and match up those lines with the reference art that we have here. Okay, so you want to get that far, go in and use your curve, but then just take it in a rough shape and start to shape this. If you wanted to start from just a plain cylinder, you could do exactly the same thing. The sweetener just gets us to a closer spot a little bit quicker than if we're just using a primitive. Okay, so get that back leg drawn out and sort of positioned up next to the body like this. Okay, and then in the next lesson, we will go ahead and start to add on the foot down here with the toes. So we'll go ahead and do that next.